I'm Kevin Lee, and let's queer up faith. Messages of hope and healing as Cardinal addresses LGBTQ Catholic Conference. Around 500 people gathered at Georgetown University's historic Gaston Hall for the Outreach 2026 conference, making 5 years of the LGBTQ Catholic ministry founded by Jesuit Father James Martin. The highlight of the 3-day walking side-by-side gathering was a Saturday Vigil Mass celebrated by Cardinal Robert McElroy of Washington. In a remarkably candid homily, Cardinal McElroy acknowledged that the Catholic Church has frequently wounded the LGBTQ community through judgmentalism and exclusion. However, the Cardinal pointed to a message of great hope for pastoral care, highlighting recent shift updates under Pope Leo XIV, which emphasizes a more compassionate pastoral approach over rigid focuses on sexual morality. Conference organizers say the event provided a critical space for LGBTQ laypeople, theologians, and families to experience radical welcome and spiritual healing within their faith. This is truly a beautiful story. It does have a glimmer of positive news to it, which I like.
A glimmer.
A glimmer, and I that's my pontificating there. I say it's a glimmer because, you know, how many times have we had political figures, religious figures, social figures, city figures who will say one thing and do another, say one thing and not follow through. And it really, I want to see, you know, my background, you all know, is I'm an ordained metaphysical minister. I went through a 4-year seminary. And in my church religion, in our church seminary, half of the ministers that trained us and taught us were gay. So it was never an issue for us. So it was a very welcoming, safe environment for me. I was very lucky. But I think it's there's still a lot of hypocrisy taking place in a lot of world religions, not just Catholicism. And, you know, one thing is said, one thing is done. There's things not said, even though it's obvious. And there's a lot of manipulation going on. So that's why I say a glimmer of positive news. But let's be clear, glimmering words are one thing, action is another, right? And I say that the Vatican really needs to rework their position on the definition of marriage to begin with, and along with their scriptural interpretation. That's the most important thing if we're going to try to get to a place where we have a rainbow circle of love around the planet.
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of it is, and I appreciate and I see those same glimmers, but for a lot of Catholics, it's just too little too late.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it is. I mean, now, that said, the fact that this was the Cardinal from Washington, D.C. says a lot because I think 2 predecessors ago was Cardinal McElroy, who was disgraced in the church molestation, and he was like unrepentant.
Yeah.
And Catholics, one of their main things to do is be repentant, and Hooker was not. So, but the fact that it's coming from this particular seat says a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to appreciate it. Yeah. But I think I'm still going to be sleeping in on Sundays.
Of course. I mean, listen, when church leaders admit they've caused harm, that's not weakness, that's growth, okay? So even if it's a glimmer of growth, Kevin, you know, because imagine that, accountability in 2026, right? You know?
Wow.
Healing starts when institutions stop pretending that the wound didn't exist or doesn't exist or people were not harmed.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that, you know, I'm speaking from a personal recent experience with the Catholic Church. I was just up with my family for a funeral and I was planning the service. And it was my first time dealing with a Catholic church because I didn't know anything about it in terms of Mass and how it was all performed and put together. And so, you know, in my family, I kind of stick out like a sore thumb, like he's the gay guy, you know, representative.
Ditto.
So I come walking in with my briefcase and just be like, so how are we going to do this? You know, so gay all over the place. I will tell you, the Monsignor at the church was absolutely wonderful and very welcoming. I think he sensed exactly who I was.
Yes.
And for me, you know, experiencing, you know, that other behavior that was not very nice to me in the Catholic Church, it kind of gave me a little bit of hope in terms of, you know, maybe it's because I was grieving, I don't know. But it was in a spot where I needed to just feel like I was okay, and he allowed me that space. So, you know, hopefully we are starting to see more of these glimmers, you know.
Yeah, not all Catholic people are awful. Not all monsignors hate us, you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, the glimmer of hope.
But I went into this with the expectation, like, you know what, they're just not going to want to hear from me. They're going to want to do this. And and I just had all of these expectations.
I've
and I was
experienced those
completely
same
wrong.
fears, right?
I
All right,
have a
last
different,
comment,
I have a
Trini.
different take on it. Like
course you
I
do.
don't think that it's a glimmer. I think it's a fire. I have been so impressed with the Catholic Church in the past year with this new Pope, right? Because when I was a kid, you know, I grew up Southern Baptist and I was in ministry up until I was about 28 years old. And, you know, and the Catholic Church was always, you know, the defining rule of like, you know, what is right and wrong and gay and straight and all that kind of stuff. And I don't subscribe to them. I don't subscribe to any religion. So the fact that they still say that marriage is, you know, wrong, whatever, they're going to be that way just like so many of the other major world religions are. But as far as how they're moving forward, and I never thought I'd see the day where the Pope was against the American Republican white Christian nationalist group, like sparring. And I'm
But
looking
this is
at
the first time the Pope is also American from
Well, yeah, but-
Chicago. I mean,
but that's great. That's more than a glimmer for me that he's getting publicly and going to the Vatican and saying things against this administration
and hanging out with Bad
about-
Bunny.
Huh?
Hanging out with Bad
Yes.
Bunny because he
Yes.
did. He
You know,
did.
I saw
And
that.
I remember saying, you know, when I was here, and what he mentioned there, this cardinal, I think you were, who made that quote, was that I remember as a kid saying, murder is bad. You know, we think like somebody comes into your house and murders you, you know, depictions of murder on television, we see all the time, you know, but the idea that like you see a boy kiss a boy and it's like, ah, you know, and I would always ask the question, I'm like, why would you rank this sin above this sin? Like, why would being gay be here and like murder and rape and, you know, all of this here you can let your kids see, but this is the worst thing. And the answer was always like, you know, I don't really have a good answer for that, you know, and I feel like they're coming to terms with that, even though they feel like it's a sin. It's like, why would we put this over this or this or this? And actually, this sin is down here.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that switch is happening, and I feel much better about that.
They've got a long way to go, my
They have a
friend.
long
So
way to
I don't know
go,
why
but-
you're all excited about that. Let's
I
talk
am.
to all the people that they freaking molested and all the, you know,
That's true.
the priests that they've had to move to other locations. Please.
Hey, that's the
Please,
past. I'm
Trini.
saying
That's
moving
the
forward.
past, but it still happened. Like,
Well-
you know what I mean? A glimmer, bitch. They get a glimmer. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.